Hello and welcome to Take Me Through Your Day. You may have noticed that I'm not your regularly scheduled podcast host. My brother let me take the introduction on this one because on this episode, we're interviewing my barber Gilbert. Unfortunately, at the time of this episode release in 2023, Gilbert has passed away. Gilbert cut my hair for the last 5 years, and every single time he cut my hair, I genuinely looked forward to him being the one to do so. I don't think I ever met anyone who enjoyed what they did for a living as much as he did. And in this episode, you'll see that natural charisma for the love of life that he brought to every haircut. We'd like to dedicate this episode to him and his family. This was one of the most fun episodes we've ever gotten to record, and it was recorded back in the summer of 2022. Gilbert and I had been talking about doing a part 2 of this episode for the last year. Unfortunately, we never got the opportunity to do so, which makes this episode even that much more special to me. So without further ado, here's my barber Gilbert.
All right, so what do you do for a living?
I am a licensed cosmetologist in the state of Pennsylvania. I do hair cutting, hair coloring, permanent waving. I have some good old-fashioned senior citizens who get taken care of, still do roller setting, even though I only have one left after that's all you did back in 1974 when you first got in the business. But I am employed in a barber shop, and this is mainly men's hair cutting that takes place in the shop. And I still have that, let's say about 15 to 20% female clientele. And they are the big ticket items with permanent waves, hair coloring and such. Today I did 2 hair colors, for example. I didn't have the busiest day with numerically speaking, as I only had 6 or 7 customers, but 2 of them were hair colors, so I got it made in the shade.
What do you charge for a hair color?
Well, we're very inexpensive because we make our money on hair cutting here.
Yeah.
And a lot of women would be interested. You can get a highlighting foil frosting in my chair, including a haircut for $65. I can tell you this goes for $180 in other places. And they're not going to be able to say that they got 48 years of experience. I do, as I started the business in 1974 is when I picked up at Pittsburgh Beauty Academy.
Okay, well let's go back to that.
Yeah.
So when you were in high school, do you have any idea what you wanted to do for a living?
I really didn't. I was lost and completely. I was so sports oriented that not that I ever thought I was going to play anything professionally, but my mind was not on homework and such. And it was come home and you get the baseball glove after work or the hockey stick, as I did most of the time, or whatever the sport of the season was. And I got to tell you, I ignored homework almost completely. And the end result was I was a 1.9 average coming out of Taylor Alderdice High School. Not trouble, and maybe talked a little too much in class, according to a lot of teachers, but not trouble, but not interested. So you're a little lost at age 17, and kind of a rule in our house that was you ain't sitting around doing nothing, and that's okay. And through one good thing through what was called the distributive education program, which I went to 3 periods, and all we did was sit around and talk about nothing.
Yeah.
But they would set you up on employment in places they could get you a lead. And they got me a lead at a very nice restaurant in downtown Pittsburgh, which is an invaluable experience that I had because those 2 years learning to cook and how to work a kitchen is pretty vital thing. Last time I checked, we pretty much eat every day, right?
Yeah.
So that is, to this day, is an invaluable experience, from everything from setting the table and prepping things my way when I do dinner at our house, to I tell my wife, out of the kitchen, cleanup's my job, and go relax and enjoy TV. Didn't pay much, but here we are, 40, actually that's 50 years ago, it was 1972. I am using what I learned in that, and from my mother, who was a very Italian, first generation American, what I learned in the kitchen, my kids got to enjoy that, and that makes me feel good because they never met my mother, you know.
Yeah.
But along the way, I realized I don't want to do this all my life.
Yeah.
And you may find this hard to believe. Upon a woman's suggestion, who at one point in her life was a hairstylist, she simply said to me, "Why don't you look into Pittsburgh Beauty Academy or Barber Academy?" Quote from her, "I think you'd be good at it."
Is this someone you worked with, or?
No, this was a girlfriend's mother at the time.
Okay.
I think she just wanted me to go to beauty school to be around 400 girls so that I could get away from her daughter.
It's a good strategy.
For Mrs. Trosky, it worked, and I'm very happy to say that 1981, 7 years later, I ran into her at Kennywood Park and had a million thank yous. Sandy and I were broken up literally 3 months later, you know, and her mother had her focused on going to college, and maybe I was going to be an interference, you know, because I liked her very much. But the end result was we're broken up. I'm already at Pittsburgh Beauty Academy on her suggestion. And as I've said a million times in my life, I knew nothing from day one. Nothing. And so why did I go to beauty school instead of the Barber Academy? First, the Barber Academy would have been 2 buses.
No.
Now, the real reason, I check out the Barber Academy. There's 200 guys, no women. I tour Beauty Academy. There's 400 girls, and there's 5 guys, and the 5 guys look like they don't care about women. Okay. So I come home, and I knew this. Even being sort of a slacker in high school, we were entitled to 1 tuition grant in our household. That's how it worked. But this was, you make it work because there is no second one. My mom was kind of staunch on that.
Yeah.
And I proposed to her, it's $900, if you can believe that, to go and to Pittsburgh Beauty Academy for 9 months full time. And I know in the year 2022, this is $10,000 to $15,000 now.
Oh, I bet.
Oh yeah,
Easy.
$900. And she was one of those ones. I'm not paying in installments. I'm paying up front. You're going to make this work, or you know, you're going to be paying serious rent here.
Yeah.
She could be a little on the tough side and not a tough mother, but some rules were rules, and one of them was you're not sitting in this house doing nothing, and
Yeah.
I knew that. So after there was that little couple-week period of wondering what am I going to do after I left the restaurant. That Saturday night, those words came out of that woman's mouth, and I looked into it, and I joked about the 400 girls, but her words resonate 50 years later. I think you'd be good at it. Why did I take her seriously? She was a hairstylist, and I don't know. Some people see things in you, and I'm not a tool person. I'm not it's not my style. The only thing that I do that's actually creative around the house is I am a prize-winning gardener, too.
No.
And I am, and I can show you guys pictures that will knock your socks off. It's all done from seed. I do not buy anything. I don't do what I call suburban gardening, going to Lowe's, putting somebody else's work in the ground and saying, look what I did. You didn't do that. Some factory over in China did that. Who you BSing? Come on. Everything I do is from seed, and it is lineage, and I start from scratch every year with that garden. That's my evening hobby, and it's attended to every single day. It's not that I'm OCD about it. It's just there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, and I get to sit among 500 sunflowers every night that are my backdrop as I sit and listen to political radio and poison my mind.
And I've seen the pictures too. It's impressive.
I have shown
you've
them.
shown me a couple.
I try to be modest and not do stuff like that, but apparently I was showing off, and it is a joy, literally, from kickoff is when the first little seed from the compost breaks the ground to essentially past election day. I can keep things blooming, providing there's no heavy frost. And the way the weather's been in Western Pennsylvania, as a weather watcher, I can tell you, we pretty much have decent weather, tolerable weather, till Thanksgiving. And by the first week in December, you got a touch of winter in the air.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So let's go back to when you start the beauty school. So what's that experience like? What's the first day there?
It was first day I can remember. It was first day, Mr. Kastner's class, February 11th, 1974. Mr. Kastner taught hair coloring and scalp and hair. And this might sound crazy to you, but I am so ground zero. The first thing you're taught in at least then, you know the white thing they put around your neck?
Yeah.
That's called a Sanic strip. And properly dressing a customer is the first thing you're taught. And I'm really nimble with my fingers, and now you're touching somebody else, and this is peculiar to me at age 19. But putting the cape on, and in that day and age, I don't even know if Velcro was invented. Everything's Velcro now. But at that point, it was a tie thing. But this really might sound rudimentary to you, but that first morning was terrifying. Like, didn't quite go through my head yet, but what am I getting myself into?
Yeah.
And I gotta make this work, and I'm not kidding you. So that is day one at beauty school, and guess what?
What?
It wasn't too far in the future that I acquired that teacher's license. And guess what I was doing literally 1 year later?
What's that?
Teaching that class.
Teaching the
That's
same class.
no joke. I can tell you it was the day after the Steelers won their first Super Bowl in 1975. You may think to yourself, how did you get through school so fast? As school progressed, I was elected by my classmates to represent the school in a styling competition, and I had the hair coloring. That was my category for it. There were 4 categories: just high fashion styling, coloring and styling, and it was high fashion also, permanent waving and high fashion styling, and makeup application. 4 trophies were available. On February 11th of 74, I never held a comb and a scissors. On September 16th of 1974, it was a Monday night. The Steelers, the Buffalo was on Monday Night TV. O.J. Simpson was on. In between the competition, I checked in on the football game. By the way, the Steelers tied Denver the day before, 35-35. You can look it up. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding.
Oh, people are gonna fact
I'm not
check
kidding you. You can fact check me. That's what happened the day before, and Joe Gilliam was the starter that day. Anyway, on that Monday, September 16th, the competition was held at the it was in Greensburg. They were the host school for the competition. Mountain View Inn, which I don't think is there anymore, but it was on Route 30. We did all the work at the Greensburg School, and on Route 30, this was a formal event. Believe me, people would come in tuxedos and such. Familiar with these names in the business? Zigarelli?
It sounds familiar.
Okay,
Yeah,
I know they were judges that night and such, and I took a first place trophy beating 7 women. Not that that's a bragging right, but I beat them. These hands never touched a comb and scissors on February 11th, and on September 16th, they held a trophy up in victory.
It's very impressive.
It shows you what you can do when you apply yourself. And
exactly.
Maybe I threw some years away at Taylor Alderdice because, hey, I got to convict my mom. She didn't enforce the rules. I should have been coming home and doing homework. She let me off the hook. I have no idea why. But she knew we were up the street. It was strictly sports related. But my friends, they all did good in school. I didn't.
Well, it's lucky that lady saw something in you and was like, "You're gonna be good at this."
I'm not a believer in fate, the way we say it. But some things happen and dominoes tumble in ways that you just have to think there's other forces at work to lead you in that direction. That before that night, it never occurred to me to be a hairstylist.
Yeah.
Never. Go figure.
Yeah, that's exactly why we do this podcast.
Yeah.
It's like just give people a little window into what could be.
And I can't say, I repeat, it's not like I'm paying attention for signs or praying to God, show me the way. It just happened.
Yeah,
It's bizarre. And here we are, 48 years later. You won't hear this from a lot of people. I don't go to work. I love every day and have. I've had 3 beauty shops along the way. Only came to a conclusion because I sold one of them to one of the girls that I work and brought a place in Squirrel Hill. Both of my shops, the Squirrel Hill and the Swissvale shop, ended to first one, cardiac arrest in 1999. I was given a 3% chance to laugh. I shouldn't be laughing about it, but it was quite an experience. And then a repeat performance, an encore in 2014. Only the second time it was just a heart attack, not cardiac arrest. And my fabulous Dr. Manella, he had me back on my floor. You may find this hard to believe. It happened on December 23rd, and I worked on Christmas Eve, on New Year's Eve that year. When you're self-employed, an employer can't tell you, you can't come, you're not ready yet. Yeah. But the 1999 occurrence, which was so much more serious than 2014, he got me back on that floor on a part-time basis. It cost me my shop because you got to be there to run it, and I was a one-trick pony, Yeah. But that was rehabilitation that was priceless, and it essentially led me for the first time to this shop, okay? Then that urge to do little old ladies came back.
There you go.
And there wasn't enough of it going on in here. And at that time, a woman by the name of Eileen worked here, and she was a fabulous hairstylist. She did all the little old ladies. I just got peripheral on that. But ultimately, she left the place. I came back here 2 times after heart attacks, and Ronnie was really kind to hire me the first time because, in plain English, despite it being 13 months after the cardiac arrest, I was a mess. And that's all there is to it. I was a mess. And I came here. I'm not a barber. I'm a hairdresser. And he said to me very casually, we'll make a barber out of you. And ultimately, I'm so happy to say I do things the barber way for haircutting. And that includes women, because haircutting is haircutting. This stuff doesn't know a gender. It just knows lengths and texture, and tapless texture, texture, pliability, length, image. There was this little thing we had in beauty school called tap list. That was what you were supposed to analyze on people before you do them, not just say, sit down, how short do you want it?
Yeah.
Texture, abundance, pliability, length, image. The S. Can't remember what the S stand for. And T was the amount of time you have to work with.
There you go.
Most people don't want to analyze.
Yeah.
But in this business, you're very wise if I don't say to Nico, let me tell you how you want to wear your hair. This is a service. Do you go into a restaurant? Let's just say it's a regular restaurant, not a place where they actually say, we recommend filet mignon or tonight, and this is essentially telling you what you're going to have. Nobody on this earth should walk into a beauty or a barber shop and have the stylist dictate to them what they're getting. This is you. And I've said this a million times, but it's no joke. If you said, cut this side to the top of the ear, but leave this down here. I want this side red and this side blue. Guess what? I'm in the service industry. I do everything but fill out a check and take the order, just like they do in a restaurant place where, you know, they're not telling you McDonald's, no, you're going to have 2 Big Macs today. You don't want the hamburgers. They're not good today. Take the Big Macs.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense.
This business got a little full of itself as the years go by, and I don't want to put ourselves down. We are tradespeople. They could tell you in beauty school you're a professional. No, you're not. No, you're not. Look how I'm dressed for work. I don't want to destroy anything good today. I had 2 hair colors. I'm dressed pretty casual, you know. No blue jeans here. Well, Rob does, and you know we call him Fetterman because that's who he looks like. If you haven't seen him, he does. If he walks out, you know, or if he comes out to catch a smoke, you know, I'll say Fetterman. He'll say, "What's up?" You know.
All right, so let's go back to you winning that competition.
Yes.
So this is obviously a huge thing for you.
Oh,
what is the next move after that? What do you do?
It was to approach the. That was with literally in at that point in my training, I probably had since I got 3 days of school left, I have 12,450 classroom hour, 435 classroom hours to my credit, and you need 1250. So I had 3 more days of school. The question mark, what to do now? I know at 19 I'm not ready for the public yet. I don't care if I want a competition or not. I'm not experienced with the public. I'm not that good. I'm good at some things, but this is a demanding business if you're not good. Have you ever had a bad haircut?
Oh yeah.
It's not pleasant, is it?
No, it's not very pleasant.
It's not. I was wise enough to know that cutting hair in my basement for my friends, you're not shop ready. I'm earning a few bucks doing that, but I know in my heart you're not ready yet. You're pretty immature. You haven't proven that you're dependable at anything except going to school. But as I said, there's a vice on my head. You're going to make this work, pal.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I decided to, I asked my mom, can I further it and get the teacher's license, because I think that will help me when I really go into the field. And she agreed to it. You know, she was all for the education. And, but, you know, you're coming off of this trophy winning experience, but you know to yourself, you still only have 10 months under your belt. I'm not a natural. I learned step by step. Some people, I saw it in this business. These people on day one, couple that I can think of, how? You must have done hair before you came here.
Yeah.
You can't be that good without some experience. None for me. Holding a hockey stick doesn't help you cut hair, okay? I was good at that.
So you take the extra step to become the teacher.
Yes.
And this is in the same school?
Pittsburgh Beauty Academy. It was on Fifth Avenue in downtown Pittsburgh. They had 4 branches. Pittsburgh was the main one, and it was between Smithfield Street and whatever the next street is down. It was in the heart of downtown Pittsburgh, and you knew the Pittsburgh Beauty Academy students, they're all in blue and white, you know, and we were told, look professional when you go out, you know. We're tradespeople. I cannot emphasize that enough.
Exactly.
Continue.
So you're in the school now to be a teacher.
Yes.
How does that go? What's the first day there?
As you are going to, as a teacher or
as a student to become a teacher.
Very good.
And you are coming straight off of the other school, so I imagine you're one of the younger people in there, or are there other people your age doing the same thing?
This is anywhere between 19 and 25 years old, you know?
Yeah.
Or should I say out of high school and between 25 are the average age seeking a teacher's license. Some people come back later just so they could get the manager's license that you needed, but to run a shop according to the law. But The game plan was pretty simple. I saw it play out with student teachers. You got that tag once you signed up as a student teacher. You saw the game plan was they were going to be ultimately given classes to take to get the teaching experience, as it is with real, in public schools, in parochial schools. And there is only one class a week that taught teaching, if you understand what I'm saying by that. Otherwise, you're in the class, you're helping students now, okay? You're not taking the front of the class. But that day is going to come that you said, Gil, you need to do a few classes, because that's part of the training. Well, my personality must have developed a little bit in these months, okay?
Yeah.
And now you're put in a position of somewhat authority. From the second I stepped up, something happened inside. I love being in front of people. I loved it. You're teaching rudimentary classes, just like what I'm speaking of, maybe being given that stuff that is first week, second week, third week education. This is not going to be hard. You're not taking the more advanced classes that you see much later in, but I got a good taste of student teaching, and I realized this is for me. I'm not saying I'm a natural. I just loved being on stage. Is what it amounted to. And by November, I made an appointment with Mr. D. Consilis because I wanted to speak to him. And it was, would you consider me for employment after I finish my teacher's training? We had an inside person as the supervisor. He was on the State Board of College Cosmetology. Mr. Louis Aquilino was his name. He went by Mr. Lou, but Mr. Lou could break the rules for you on a few things, such as, I can let you teach before you get your license. I asked Mr. D for the job. I got no immediate response, okay? But it had to be December. I'm called up to his office, and I'm thinking, you're in trouble for flirting with girls. You're in trouble. You're dead meat. He presents me with a teaching schedule, and I am in shock. And as I said to you a few minutes ago, that schedule he gave me included that first class that I had on February 11th of the same year. And this is bizarre what's occurring, but this is gospel truth. If you think I'm BSing you, I'll repeat this story verbatim 25 days from now, and you'll hear the exact same thing, because this is how these bizarre dominoes tumbled for me.
It's quite the trajectory. Yeah.
And I couldn't wait to come home. I said, Mr. D hired me for teaching. And immediately, well, you don't want to have your license. And I said, Mr. Lou's are in because he's on the State Board of Cosmetology. He's not going to get me in trouble, let's face it. So essentially, I'm teaching classes before not only having a teacher's license, I hadn't taken my State Board exams for the operator's license. It's two different exams. That was taken in January of the year that I began classes. And I know kids were coming around and saying, Mr. Perkins doesn't even have a license, you know? Well, Mr. Lou's on the State Board of Cosmetology, and he can do what he wants to do. And he says, take the class. What am I going to say? No, I asked for it. But my intention, honestly, was for when I would pass my teacher's exam, which wouldn't be until April. First, you got to get the operator's license before you get the teacher's license. But April would come around and I would finally conclude it. And if you look in that room, you'll see my teacher's license, and you'll see that it's certified June 1975. It says it on it. I ain't lying to you about anything. I'm a storyteller, but this is all the absolute truth.
Okay, so let's go from you start teaching at the school. So teaching at the school, how do we get from there to where you are now.
Sure. Let's take the stops along the way.
Yeah.
Taught at the school for 2 years and really felt shop ready. I got to get the exact time on the element on this. Spring of 1977, I get word of a shop in Carnegie that's up for sale. The hairstylist literally died overnight. And it was on the West Mall Plaza of Carnegie, D.C., downtown Carnegie, as they called it out there. And I asked my mom, come and look at it. It's $6,000, and I'm interested in it, and I want to get started. She approved, set me up on a 3-year payment plan of $200 a month to pay her back. This was not a grant, and this was an interest-free loan. And again, you better make it work, pal.
Yeah.
I got very lucky. A couple women came to work, kept the shop above water. It's hard starting out. It's very risky. Worse, I'm going to an area where nobody knows me. Anybody that I have from my Squirrel Hill basement shop, they're not traveling out to Carnegie. And I got it up and running, working. Fast forward to 1982. Sadly, my mother passes away, and I'm left with a handsome inheritance. And because I don't want to blow it, I figured you better put this money to use. Ultimately, it evolved that my goal was to have a shop in Squirrel Hill. I kept my eyes open after my mom died because I had the money and I didn't want to be stupid with it. A shop came up for sale in Squirrel Hill on Northumberland Street. A lot of people know where the Rehabilitation Institute is of Pittsburgh. It was a stone's throw from there. And I bought the Northumberland in 1982. And this time I didn't get so lucky with people coming to work for me. It was with one employee two employees who stayed behind. And they worked for me for not long for Pete. We knew he was going to move down the road, and I knew he was going to take his clientele with him. Yeah. But this is a case of now you're really on your own, pal. You got to make this work. Fast forward to 1999. The shop is my father-in-law built me a shop in the same building around the corner in 1988. I started. The next goal was someday you gotta walk into your shop on day one and it's yours. And I did it in the same building. Where it was a small storeroom, but he built a shop perfectly for 2 operators that was extremely efficient, sparkling new. It opened on, ready? February 29th, 1988. It opened on Leap Day that year. And I had a decent amount of people accumulated by then. And that shop ran until that cardiac arrest, and I was sick. I was sick. By that point, it's a one-pony show. It's hard to have your shop closed at length.
Yeah.
And that's when I came here for the first time, when I decided, you can't do this, you're in no shape. This man was very understanding of the situation that he was taking damaged goods on. And I worked for Ronnie for 3.5 years. That urge to do little old ladies came back, and I left him. He wasn't too happy with me.
Yeah.
Very fortunately, the hard feelings passed. We got back in touch again, and it's a darn good thing. In 2014, the same thing happened, only it wasn't as serious this time, but a strange thing happened to me after it. I totally lost my desire to run the shop. Oh. My kids wanted me out of this. I'm in Swissvale at this time, self-employed, had a nice little shop there. My kids wanted me out of the neighborhood because the fact of the matter is the neighborhood was going bad, and I just didn't want to see it.
Yeah.
The second heart attack made it real easy because there was something that just changed in my brain. Go ask Ronnie for your job back.
Yeah.
June of 2015, I returned. And if my last breath is taken behind that chair, I'll be a very happy person. You're not going anywhere at age 68. Nobody wants you. I was lucky at I'm 61 in 2015, or approaching 61. I'm lucky he said yes. I mean, you're old at that point in time in any business, but he also knew that one thing. Here comes personal boast time. You ready? This guy shows up for work. This guy doesn't call off. I am on for a hospital, which we try to avoid those, but yeah. I've had cancer in the meantime, so there was a hospital thing. But without a doubt, he knows there's not a lot of reliability in this business with young people. I don't mean to pick on them, but it's the truth.
No, it is the truth.
They come and go, and the standard of work in this room is very high quality. I'm 48 years in the business, so guess what? I don't have the most experience in that room. Ronnie's uncle Tom's 61 years. That guy's 81 years old. And he just walked out a few minutes ago. Yeah. This guy will be on a golf course by the end of the day after working. That's what this business can do for you. And, at 68, even though I'm only limited because I'd really be testing myself, but I played tennis with people half my age as recently as a couple years ago. And then that cancer bug started to weaken me, and finally an operation had to take place. So am I retired from my sports life? Yes, but
but it keeps you on your feet.
Hey, I eat all the wrong foods. I smoke too much, but my weight's good, I clearly don't follow the rules that a cardiologist gives me. I shouldn't be laughing about it, because I know if Dr. Manila were here, he would not be laughing about it too much. He'd say, Mr. Perkins, you're a fool. And he's right, but old habits are hard to break.
Right.
Sweet teeth. If you have a sweet tooth, it never leaves. It never leaves.
Well, I think that's the perfect opportunity to start the show and actually go through your day. Mm-hmm. What time do you wake up in the morning?
Saturdays, I had alarm set for 5 a.m. Didn't get to sleep too easy last night. We have a situation at home, and my wife, I laid down in the living room. She had the TV on. I can't get to sleep when it's on, and we can only keep the air conditioner on downstairs. It's money saving, and she gets too cold upstairs. So in weather like this, I sleep on the couch. Yeah. But she didn't turn the TV off till 12:05, and I'm thinking, you got to be up in 5 hours. Not that I have to be, but I like getting up early. Saturday, I get up 1 hour earlier than the rest of the week, because we start at 8 a.m. And then believe me, then it's military time. Coffee pot's on, 3 medicines get pumped into me, cats get fed, cats get watered, Jack goes out with me. That's my little dog. And I just like to sit and I told you about the garden. And if I'm lucky in the morning, a hummingbird comes by. It's too early for the bees, or they're sleeping in some of the flower pods. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No, I haven't seen that.
I grow hollyhocks, which it's past their season. Like many flowers, hollyhocks close at night. I contend that the bees become inebriated by what they are ingesting. The pod closes on it. It opens up with sunlight. You ever see a bee sleeping?
No.
It's a spectacular sight.
I believe
it is. It really is. And I catch it a couple times a summer if I come out at the right time. I would also say this. Your face of if he wakes up, he'll come down and hit you.
Oh, yeah.
I never found out the hard way, but almost did. From there, more regimented stuff.
Like what?
Well, coffee is being ingested. There's my Yeti.
Yeah.
Coffee, regimentation, shower, shave. Make sure Fox TV, well, I shouldn't get into that. Television is on, okay? Television is on. I'm hearing stuff to get me upset. And 7:30, get out that door, try to get, I'm 17 minutes from here.
What's the commute like? You driving in?
Easy.
You listening to anything on the way in?
Sometimes I'm listening to some of my political stuff on my cell phone, and sometimes total silence.
Total silence.
Total silence. It's a 17-minute drive, and some of those things I listen to are only 15 minutes, so that's perfect for the drive-in. But this morning, I did not hook up the phone to the charger in the car. 17 minutes of silence, enjoying the drive. Feeding my bad habit along the way, and just enjoying a beautiful drive-in,
Nice.
My first customer, Anita, was here already. She was a cut and a color today.
Do you have to prep anything before you come in? When you first get
I know exactly. For her, all I have to do is turn on that barber pole, and I with her, just pull out scissors, and I know that she's a color, so all the color stuff's in that little room. Once we're done BSing a little bit, Anita and I, usually she comes with her husband Marty, but he couldn't make it this morning. He's coming in Thursday afternoon. So Anita was solo today, and we did her color and cut. In between that color and cut, Matthew came in with his son. Matthew's incredible family that he is part of, one of 16 children.
Of 16?
Yes. And I picked them up as customers with my Swiss Veil shop. They followed me here. We counted it today just by chance. I do 5 of the boys still. And his brother Sean was in later on at about 11:30. So there's a wedding going on at that family. Can you imagine how big these weddings are? And Matthew is the best man. Sean said, I got off the hook. I don't have to buy a tuxedo this time. But he and his son, perfectly behaved 2 or 3-year-old. He's going to be the ring bearer at the wedding, and sits beautifully like an old pro getting a haircut, as easy as pie, platinum blonde hair. The whole family's blondies. But then we took care of Matthew and the son. It was on to Mike, who's a food salesman, and we were on the subject. We kind of grew up close to one another. He grew up in Hazelwood. I grew up at the top of Browns Hill in Squirrel Hill, and we know a lot of common territory and such. And we were just talking about St. Stephen's and Hazelwood. Oh yeah, we did discuss his haircut too. He's a one on the side. He wanted it just trimmed on the top, keep the sideburns long, and we run over a clipper, so he has a 5 o'clock shadow left, and he's been a customer for a couple of years now. And there.
All right, good.
Hey, you take care, Rob. That's Fetterman.
Take care.
See ya. I'm already having the time of my life, and it's noontime. Just talk. It's not even noontime yet, and just the conversation. Anita, we're on the same side politically, so we have to keep that conversation soft. You don't want to offend anybody, and by the way, I never take people to task with my opinion. Many people think I'm on their side of the fence because I just listen and agree. Would you believe I think I lost 3 or 4 customers because they saw some of my reading material out?
It's the state of things these days. It happens.
Well, at least Jennifer, I considered a friend. I'd done her for 15, 20 years. She actually looked at the house next door to me because we were that friendly. She said, I'd love to live next door to you. She has an alternative lifestyle, albeit, but that's insignificant. She would have been a great next door neighbor. But I think she picked up on what direction I think, and that's disturbing.
Yeah,
my very best friend for life, we are polarized politically. I wouldn't give up Michael's friendship for anything. My other best friend, Jimmy, I have no idea how he thinks. We talk sports. We played hockey together for decades. We talk sports, old neighborhood in Beechwood Boulevard. Fun stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, then Anita's son was also in. His name is Matthew also. Nice young man, 30 years old and such. Same thing every month. He's there every 4 weeks, just like Anita. Number 1.5 on the side. Guess what? Ooh, he told me he has very thick hair, and we didn't slide the razor. I owe him an apology. I'm going to see his dad on Thursday. Marty will be in. I'm going to have to send apologies to his son because I know I failed. This is the price of being mouth and just talk. I forgot to do something on him, so shame on me. But he will get the apology, and next month he's coming in on, if today's the 27th, 4 weeks from today is the 24th of September. He'll be on the 24th. I have a formulation for figuring out.
I can see it all working in your
I have a formulation on it. I'll give it to you and really bore you, because people say, how do you know that's 4 or 5 weeks today? I have a formula, and it works every time, especially if it's 4 weeks. I know it automatically. I have to do a little thinking to go 5 or 6 weeks, but I'll bore you with that in a second. And then the second big project of the day, Janet, her husband, Walt, he goes to anybody in the shop. I love doing him. He is, I'm not kidding you, if you were out here, the first thing you would say, Drew Carey gets his hair done here? He looks identical to Drew Carey. He can't stand it when I say it. He is a farm tech, I do believe, at the Giant Eagle in Edgewood. Janet, it's only the second time I've done her. She loves what she has had done 2 times. I love doing it. She gets very beet red hair tint, and it's down to here. I had all the time in the world. I said, want me to jazz it up? And we put a real fun long hairstyle on her, and she was as happy as a lark. Ronnie's last words to me after she left the shop, because we never talk about other customers. We are totally professional here. We never say a word about anybody after they've left the shop. You believe that, and you're a fool. But anyway, he said to me, you're really good at those 1970 hairstyles, Gil. She looked like I did it in a way that you'd probably you'd see in a prom picture from 1974, But hey, she's happy with it. It doesn't matter. Remember what I said about one side down here and one here.
Yeah,
you like it.
You like it, you get what you want.
The object is, are you going to return and see me again?
Exactly.
You get an automatic F if you never see that person again. You get an A+ if they return, even if you may have cut them too short or left them too long, which is always the better of the two. But I'll guarantee you this. People have memories like elephants, because when they're saying to you 3 years later, not like that one time, Gil. That's a nice way of saying, you cut me too short, but I'm forgiving you. That is true. Anybody in the business who hasn't experienced that is a liar. Nobody bats 1,000 on anything. You're gonna stumble. The object is to bat 99.9.
Exactly.
But I go from my mind in calendar year 2022. I can't think of anything that I would consider cataclysmic that somebody dropped me because of it.
It's good.
It is. You should be that decent at this age. And when you're surrounded by 61 years of experience that bats 1,000 every time, and Ronnie, if there were such a thing as batting 5,000, I'm not kidding you, he bats. He's that good. He's that great. The guy does not have enough time to do the people that he do. He kills himself in this room. Everybody's telling him, you've got to learn to say no sometimes. He doesn't. He doesn't know the answer. He doesn't know that word.
Oh.
He will do your hair. If you need it done today, this minute, he will find a way. And Rob, darn good hair cutter. He's our junior person, but he's got 12 years in the book. You know, I got 48. Rob's good. Why do I say that? Guess who my hair cutter is?
That's all I'm going to ask.
I don't know if my coworkers will listen to this podcast, which I'm sure they will. But you didn't hear me say, sometimes other people cut me too short in the shop. You didn't hear me say that, did you? Rob does it, and also, I don't want to bug Ronnie.
Yeah.
He's too busy. Uncle Tom, he did me one time very nicely. But Rob he allows me to put his name on the book. Ronnie doesn't want us looking shaggy. And, hey, you got to keep an image. I sort of have, maybe I should get out of the 1970s, but I like my hair. I like it, and I don't feel comfortable. I wish I could sport what you guys do. First of all, I have a flat top skull, which my grandson inherited. Fortunately, they could fix that with a helmet these days. And I love a nice, tight look on the sides, but I think I look goofy with it. So I still stick with
mine. You stick with what you know.
Mm-hmm. And I do start out shorter so I can get 6-7 weeks out of it. And it tells me when it's time to say, Rob, hey, can I put my name in your book?
Yeah. So during this, all of these customers you had, do you have a lunch break? Do you take time?
I don't need lunch.
Nothing?
No.
Just take a couple smokes.
You're looking at it. This is my menu until dinner. It's a bad habit. Food wears me down. Friday, I bring donuts in every Friday. Yesterday I did 6 bagels and 6 donuts for a little variety. On Friday I have something, but 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, whereas a pig like me could probably eat all 10, 12 of them. I'm not kidding you. I don't look at I am a horse, okay? Anyway, that's the only time I do it. That's our one little fun thing on Friday, but everybody brings food in, but they know that when I walk in on Friday morning, I'm going to have a dozen donuts, or like yesterday, 6 and 6. Ronnie, he better stop for lunch. He kills himself here. Uncle Tom stops for lunch. Rob talks about food all day, but he doesn't eat. And I'm not kidding you. I guarantee you hang around this shop enough, you're going to hear there's a local bar he frequents. They serve food, Harvey's. You're going to find out what's on Harvey's menu, and God forbid he come back the next day after Barber and Bingo, and the Reuben sandwich wasn't good and he didn't win at Bingo. He's not happy. He's not happy.
So did we skip over breakfast? Do you have breakfast now, or just coffee
Maybe
for
on
breakfast?
Maybe on Sundays.
Okay.
No, you heard what I do at home in the morning. That's it. It's off to work. You got to understand this. It might be hard for a lot of people to grasp this concept. I love what I do. I've said this earlier. I can't wait to get here. Only because there's a situation at home related to my wife's health. I do need to make sure I'm home on time, and under the circumstances for the next 4 or 5 months, if I leave early, I do. But I can't wait to get here, and quitting time on weekend is 6 o'clock. I don't care what I get out here. It's not that I'm staying till 7 or 7:30, but I'm trying to find out the riding company. Listen to Mark Levin. I'm not radical. I'm just okay. But I know one thing on that subject. I said it earlier. You do not discuss this with customers unless you know they are on your side of the fence and you keep your voice down. You don't discuss politics. And if I am correct on the few people I lost, and I repeat, I'm not making condemning remarks. I know they have alternative lifestyles. And that kind of says you're on one side of the fence. And if they saw my reading material and I never saw them again, 2 + 2 = 4.
So were all those customer losses pretty recent? Or would you say that was 3 or 4 across the
over time.
50 years?
Over time. Oh, no, they're recent.
They're all recent, yeah.
I only kept that material out because I would read it in between customers. I did that for maybe a few months, and I realized I never saw these people get active. Because I don't argue with anybody, challenge them, listen when they talk. By the way, you're totally out of touch if you don't listen to the other side of the spectrum. might learn something, and sometimes I do, from people that have been polarized with. I'm not right about everything, and I'm not wrong about everything. But you can only learn from listening. You can't learn from talking. But I don't think you should be what's the word I'm looking for? Ostracized.
I mean, that's a lot of what bring people on here, and some people like to bring up politics. It's like steering in a way where, like,
especially in an election year.
Yeah.
It's a daily subject, and you got to be careful. You got to be careful. I've let too many people know, I think, and sometimes when they come in, Boston Dave, I wish it was someday else. I'll tell you about him on the day. He had a meeting to blow them. But he will come in here and say, first words out of his mouth with a loud Boston accent could be, I hate that Nancy Pelosi, you know. And it's like, you're in a room full of people. And he calls Uncle Tom Mr. Vice President because he looks like Mike Pence, you know. Boston Dave holds nothing back, and you've got to find a way to turn the volume down or immediately, as a real Bostonian, talk about the Boston Bruins. That puts a pacifier in his mouth, you know, and you start to settle him down slowly. But, you know, where else I get him to do his Randy Savage imitation. He does the best, oh yeah, you'd ever want to hear. You'd think Randy Savage was in the room. Character of characters that comes in is Boston Dave. I will guarantee you. He and I could walk into Giant Eagle down here by Kennywood Park. He'll know every person in there, and they'll know him.
Really?
He is somebody who makes sure you know him. A real Bostonian, and above all, he's French Canadian too. But that. Beyond that, and a Saturday evening to relax, I don't have much else to say about the day. There's one thing different about Saturday night than any Saturday and Sunday night than any other night of the week, and you know what that is? I can put that coffee pot on at 8 o'clock tonight. If I put it on at 8 o'clock and drank it during a weekday, I wouldn't be able to get to sleep. It's psychological. I'll have no trouble sleeping tonight, but will be the last thing I do at 11 o'clock instead of a sip of coffee.
Well, that actually brings us to the last question of the
Yes,
day.
that is.
Do you have a sleep routine? Do you do anything to prepare for sleep?
It's disrupted in the summertime because I can't sleep by daylight, okay? It's disrupted. It's just getting back to normal now, and it becomes earlier and earlier as the beautiful winter months. Well, I love darkness. I do. I can't wait for it to get dark every night. And by the first days of winter, 7:45, 8 o'clock's bedtime. This time of the year, it's extended, as you heard me say earlier, 9:30. But I got to have that time outside, and I prefer it be all in the dark. Last winter, I only missed sitting outside. I considered only 2 nights intolerable to sit out with myself and the dog. And otherwise, that is our evening routine. It's not polarizing myself from my wife. The shows she likes, I don't want to watch The Housewives of New York or she likes that Dancing with the Freaks or whatever it is. I don't know what it is. But what's that? He just went in there. We're polarized on that, and believe me, she won't be sitting with me tomorrow watching the Steeler game at 4:30. You know.
Exactly. All right, so let's get into some fun stuff.
Yes. May I ask what time it is?
That's actually a good question.
Yeah, 3:36.
Oh,
I think we're making a pretty good time.
Oh, we're great. I thought it was much later than that. I'm having so much fun.
Yeah. Well, now we're getting into real fun stuff.
Go ahead.
Okay, so these are all just kind of
Rudimentary.
questions.
Go ahead.
Feel free.
Fire. Oh,
you
can ask me anything.
Okay. I'm going through all of these.
Believe me,
go through
if I think I'll convict myself for past behavior, I'll plead the fifth. Okay.
Okay. What is your ideal breakfast? Like, if you were on vacation, you get whatever you want.
Let me think on that for 1 second. I'm kind of generic on that.
Okay.
When we're on vacation, There's breakfast every day, and I'll tell you this most special thing. This doesn't sound like much of a breakfast, but it's so special. We only vacation in Cape May.
Okay.
Sitting with my daughters, and my wife's welcome to come along, and sometimes she just lets me be with them. We go to a little place called, two places, Coffee Time and Bagel Time. One, you can look at the ocean from, and the other is in the little town square in Cape May. I could do bagels any morning, any style of bagel. It fills me, and I'll be able to have dinner later. Last Sunday, where did we go? We went to the Colonial Inn in Greensburg. Is that in Irwin?
Yep.
I had a nice country breakfast there at 1 o'clock. I didn't eat till 5 o'clock the next day. It fills me that much.
Is it just a bagel or bagel and cream
Oh,
cheese
no.
or bagel and sandwich?
At the ocean?
Yeah.
That is bagel and cream cheese, or maybe a cinnamon one, whatever. And the coffee's just delicious at both of those places. And that's an ideal breakfast because it's my daughters are there. And, next time that we go, if it weren't for that health situation, it was going to be this week. It'll be my daughter popping in from Philadelphia, and my grandson will be there. And that's going to be special when I'm at the beach with him for the first time.
Nice.
My daughter got married in Cape May.
Oh, okay.
And it's special every time. And I am so glad I brainwashed my kids on one thing. They only vacation at Cape May. Next.
What movie do you think you've seen the most?
The answer is Jesus Christ Superstar.
Jesus Christ Superstar.
The 1973 version. I fell in love with the music. It helped enlighten me for theology and made me understand so much more about the last 7 days of Christ's life. But the music I can listen to anytime. And I know it was only in the theaters then. I went so many times. I would have to say I saw that the most, with a close, polarized second place of Godfather 2.
There you go.
Huge Pacino fan. Huge Pacino fan.
Yeah.
Watch it anytime. I'm not one of those Godfather ones that starts talking like that, afterward. It's so brilliant with De Niro playing a young Don Corleone. It's brilliant. Pacino is so cold, the temperature in the room goes down. Diane Keaton is so powerful in that movie as a woman. It's incredible. And one of the greatest lines in movie history comes from the name of, he did a small part on it. Lee Strasberg did a small part in that movie. And
I did not know Lee Strasberg was in that movie.
Yes. And he uttered these famous words. I can't remember what his character's name was, but he uttered these famous words as all the heads joined together before they all went on and killed themselves. And he says to Michael Corleone, "We're bigger than U.S. Steel." He's a little white-haired guy in that movie, but you'll see that part.
I'm gonna have to rewatch it.
Yes. He was, shall we say, the Jewish mafia of the force, them joining forces, and he's saying, "We're bigger than U.S. Steel."
All right. What's your biggest pet peeve? And that can be at work or in general.
Now, this is going to be hard to think because, in 1999, I was given a 3% chance to live.
Yeah.
Nothing bothers me.
That's good. That's a good answer.
Something actually bothered me, it's something I still haven't grown out of from being a kid. You ready for it? And it's not a peeve. It's just something that will bother me for a couple hours when my beloved Steelers lose. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. I try to funnel it into immediate good energy. Let me go to the store and cook dinner.
Yeah.
Let me get something real nice and sort of use food as therapy. It's the only thing that still can actually, I know, hang with me and bother me. Nothing in that room can bother me. Nothing at my house. She'll probably hear it sooner or later. My wife's a little tough on me sometimes, but you know what? Take it with a grain of salt and just do as you're told. But this voice hasn't been risen in so long, unless it was yelling, "Go, go, go," for a touchdown. That's about it. And I know that sounds bizarre. Nothing bothers me. It's not worth it. There's an expression. You ready for it? Anything that irritates you or bothers you, what's it going to matter 100 years from today?
It's very true.
Think about it. Anytime something bothers you, you can even condense that. What's it going to matter 5 years from now? Probably nothing, unless it's death or illness. Those aren't peeves. Those are two things, and they should bother you. You don't take those with a grain of salt. And we're dealing with a situation at home that will be remedied. But if it doesn't bother you somewhat, you're insensitive.
Yeah.
Anything else, time will pass. That's my approach.
I think that's a very.
I said that's the best answer we got to from that question.
Do you ask these questions routinely?
We changed them up, and we have.
I got to listen a little closer tonight to the parking valet. I guess that didn't penetrate me.
No, those were like little teaser episodes we just put out because of the pandemic, we had a lot of trouble getting interviews and stuff like that. So
what was that pandemic thing?
Nothing to worry about.
People sick or something? I never noticed. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
What's the hardest time you ever laughed?
Oh, there's no question about that.
Oh, I love it.
There's no question. You got to understand the following. My kids were worried I was going to have another heart attack, okay? The hardest. My sister lives in Gateway Towers, okay? She doesn't have an alternative lifestyle, but she knows how to use men. I'm sorry. She knew how to work at all the right places and get set up, Why am I being so open on that? She's never going to hear this, and now I know she's never going to hear it. Donna's 61. She was extremely attractive when she was younger. She's definitely off-center, okay? And it's okay. That's my sister. But I don't think I was ever welcome back to her condominium after this, okay?
Okay.
I knew it was going to be something different when we went there for the first time, after we conned her for a dinner at Poli's. It ain't her money she's spending, believe me.
Yeah.
Anyway, we had a beautiful night on in December of whatever year it was. She took us to the Black Nativity.
Okay.
We were the only white people there. I told you, this woman has a sense of humor. And boy, that's a lesson. When you are now, the shoes are on the other foot. You're being looked at like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
You know what? The Black Nativity's for everybody. And it was a beautiful night. Then we conned my sister into dinner at Poli's. So then we go to her apartment. She had a Eastern Western culture theme in her house. We opened the door, and the first thing I see, it staring out into Gateway, staring out of Gateway Center to the fountain area and such, and Mount Washington. I don't know what these statues are called, but I think they're of culture from India, where there's about 10 sets of hands on it. It's the first thing I see. And then this weird little dog comes running that's head is 50 times bigger than its body, and it's yapping away, and I lost it. I couldn't stop laughing. It was as if they were pumping laughing gas in me. Everything I could see from my vantage point. Guess what her Western culture stuff was?
What?
the Wild Wild West. I'm not joking you. It gets better later on because there's a second laughing thing based on West American Western culture, not Western culture, but Old West. But I see this dog. It looks like her bed is. It looks. The only thing that's missing is flowers and well, not get well cards, but or bon voyage cards, but ones would say your sympathy, and she's whacked, and I am. Remember, this is after that first heart attack, before the second one, and I am in pain. In pain, I'm on the floor of the, let's say, 7th or 8th floor of one of the Gateway Towers. I cannot stop laughing, and every time I would get up and glance into, I haven't even crossed the threshold yet. That is the hardest laugh of my life. And as I said, it happened again later on when I opened the bathroom door to use the facility, and it's the Wild Wild West in that room.
Wild Wild West. Have a totally
she's my sister is extremely creative. She teaches, but believe me, if you saw her in downtown Pittsburgh, you'd say, that's one of those people. I'll bet she's homeless. She's not homeless. All her boyfriends were filthy rich. She was very good looking. She found a way to work at 2 places. Oh, she better never hear this. two places where she could meet those people, and that was. Do you remember the Park Shenley in?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. She was a hat check girl there.
Okay.
And then she stepped up to the Duquesne Club.
Yep.
College educated, crushed it in school, brilliant in college, but she went after the money.
She knew where to go.
Next question.
What kind of music do you like and why?
Very eclectic.
Okay.
Very eclectic. Anything that goes from about late 1950s to let's take it till 2000, and then select stuff in the new century. We can every Saturday night. It'll happen tonight. 2 hours of listening music with coffee and my dog by me. I have no idea what direction I'll go tonight. It could start with Elton John in the London Philharmonic doing Philadelphia Freedom, but the next one could be Sugar Sugar by the Archies.
Yeah.
The sidebar, I let it guide me. And, a computer, these amazing little things. I said that internet would never catch on. I guess I was wrong. But the sidebar kind of it reminds you of stuff that you listen to. And it could be anything. And I love to write reviews on it, but it's under my daughter's name. And but we could go from anything from Bobby Darin to Soundgarden. Black Hole Rising is so cool, and the video is like, I never did drugs, trust me on that. I never did, and I haven't had a drink of alcohol in 40 years, which means I had a problem. But I do not do any kind of narcotics and such, but if I were on LSD, there would be two videos that make me feel like you're on an acid trip, and those 2 videos are Black Hole Rising.
It's Black Hole Sun.
Black Hole Sun, so cool, but man, spaced out video. The other one, even though I can't stand this person, and it's a running joke in the shop, because the day I was told he was dead by Ronnie, you know what my response was?
Huh.
Good.
Who was it?
Tom Petty.
Oh, Tom Petty.
He looks like he needs a bath and body odor comes out of the computer when I'm listening to the one thing that I hate to admit I like, and that is "Don't Come Around Here No More."
Okay.
I like that, but remember, the guy that worked with that video was part of the Eurythmics. Now those are real musicians, Annie Lennox and whatever his name is.
Escaping me right now,
these are real musicians. Tom Petty, I repeat, looks like he needs a bath, smells I would periodically check on his tomb to make sure he's still dead. Okay?
Just check it's off.
There's nothing I like about him. Anybody that listens to his music beyond Don't Come Around Here No More seriously needs psychiatric evaluation. Okay? But eclectic, I have no idea what direction I'm going tonight, but if it were right this minute, let me think for a second. What am I in the mood for today? Oh, we could start, since I just said Eurythmics. Oh gosh, there's two things by Annie Lennox I love. But Walking on Broken Glass is a piece of art. Did you ever see the video to it?
Yeah. John
Malkovich, Hugh Laurie. That I wrote a review under my daughter's name on it.
Hugh Laurie's in that?
Yes.
We're watching that tonight, too.
He's a very handsome guy in it, and I can't remember what part he plays. This is a 4-minute movie on Walking on Broken Glass. Malkovich, who's so brilliant at his craft, is brilliant in it. Annie Lennox should be in the movies because what she does in 4 minutes' time is what most of these so-called third-rate pretty girl and pretty boy actors of 2022 who couldn't hold a stick to actors of the past. It's not that I'm living in the past with this. It's just, hey, if looks are all that get you in the movie, why am I not in the movies? Okay, I'm joking when I say that. Looks, these people, they can't sing. They don't have. This is a line by the late Chuck Barris. Okay. I want to see how to. If I were introducing on the Gong Show, if I were introducing Tom Petty, I would use these words. And again, I'm quoting Chuck Barris, who is brilliant at everything. Our next guest, Tom Petty, has more talent in his little finger than he does in the rest of his body. Okay? There are some great things in the 21st century, but for me they're hard to find, and that is a sign of the times that you stick to your genre. But I'm happy to say my genre goes from 1959 to at least 2000 and everything in between. I love it.
It's a pretty good window.
Yes.
It's a pretty good
and you don't want to discount yourself, and I probably have discounted myself from a lot of stuff in the 21st century. The radio's gone all talk, which I have no problem with, but nobody spins records anymore.
Yeah, it's true. And the
It's
people
true.
that do, they just play the same 10
Oh,
songs.
oh yeah.
Terrible.
Even Bob got old. We play anything. No, you don't. You play the same stuff every day. Next.
What is the best advice you ever got?
Let's put it this way. I know what it was said about. Man's name was Norman Berger. I only wish I had listened to him. You ready?
I'm ready.
Don't do it the first time. It makes it so much easier the second time. You can add to it whatever you want to.
Okay.
It's obviously saying it's something nefarious. Don't do it the first time, because the second time's much easier.
Okay.
Think about it. With smoking, drinking, drugs, you're probably going to feel guilty the first time.
It'll be real easy the second time.
That's the best advice I was ever given by Mr. Berger. He was a customer of mine, a beautiful man from Squirrel Hill. Came to my shop dressed to kill. But those words have never left my mind about anything.
Very good advice.
I'll say we've never heard that one either. So
Think about
I've
it.
never
You think
heard
about it,
Yeah,
and just have the courage to analyze yourself specifically with anything that you may have done that you know was incorrect, and you did it more than once. You'll remember the guilt from the first time. You won't from the second time. Unfortunately, then you're unfortunately addicted. Okay? Getting drunk the first time as an ex-drinker. I didn't want to get caught. I had to hide it, and I had to call off of work the next day. I was sick. I hid it from my mother. I turned into an alcoholic because it was so much easier the next time. And the next time would be months later playing tennis up at Shenley Park with my friend when we had a little break from Pittsburgh Beauty Academy that summer. Went over Bruce's house after we played. It was a hot summer day, and all he had was cold beer. It was a lot easier to say yes this time and enjoy the feeling that it gave you but the guilt wasn't there the second time.
Yeah.
Think about it. Next.
You have a childhood hero?
Let me think. Beyond myself, probably nobody. No. No. I have to think on that because I'm so sports related.
Yeah, I was gonna say you seem like a sports guy. I figured you'd throw a sports guy out
They're
there.
not heroes. They're ball players and they're great at their craft. But we're gonna go. We're gonna use the word heroine. My mother. My mother.
There you go.
She was great to me. She was understanding. She knew how to call me out. She gave good guidance, and when it mattered the most, she knew how to say yes, and when it mattered the most, she knew how to say no. And the last thing that she would have said to me that really, really mattered. My mom died of lung cancer, okay? A month before she died, and she knew time was running out. Want to hear the words she said to me? Let's just say it was March 1st, 1982. I know it was in March. It was still cold, okay?
Yeah.
She said to me, I think you have a little problem with drinking. June 12th of that year, I quit and never picked up again. That's 40 years this past June without booze. That person with those words, and she'll never know it because I was still drinking when she died in April, and believe me, came home from the night she died at Mercy Hospital, wild turkey. That's what the beer was long gone.
Yeah.
Now,
Moving on to the turkey.
Windsor Canadian Club and wild turkey were on the shelf that night, and I probably drank myself to sleep that night. You know, I was close with my mom. But she said that to me in March of 1982, and she did it just like this. I think you have a little problem with drinking, Gilbert. Those words resonate clearly 40 years later.
Made a big difference.
That is a heroine, because she said, and under the circumstances, everybody wanted to think she was going to beat it. She wasn't going to beat the lung cancer. It's 1982. You don't beat lung cancer in 82. And she gave me, that was her nice way of saying, you better stop before you end up like your father and your brother. Oh?
I skip over this a lot of times, but I think this would be great for someone like you. Just to get the lighter fare. What kind of soap do you use?
With that situation in our house, safeguards in the house right now.
Okay.
My wife, she's going to be susceptible to a lot of things, and believe me, I got to sanitize my hands before I come in the house. She's vulnerable right now. That is it. But given my choice, if it were other circumstances, zest. I know it's a 60s, 70s things, but sometimes you stick with your genre.
Find something you like. And you
Yeah.
stick with it.
And she occasionally buys me at Trax Farm the only cologne that I wear. It's called Ins, I-N-S, and the little container, and it's sitting on my set, comes with hand cream. It's a great men's scent, and a bar of soap comes with it, and that's currently on the shower shelf. I decided I'm going to use it this week instead of letting it dry rot.
As far as like shampoo, conditioner, stuff like that.
Shampoo is shampoo. Shampoo is shampoo. Cheap is better. I think it's VO5. Believe me, shampoo can't mend hair. Shampoo can only perfume it and soften it. It's a good moisturizer. It's a nice shampoo. Trust me, if you don't have perm and color on your hair, go for the bottom shelf.
Fair enough.
You can't hurt hair that doesn't have color. And
This is all color.
oh, is
I
it?
had a whole head of white hair.
Then you. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I envy you.
I had just bought dye today. I'm getting a haircut on Monday.
If I were in your shoes with that, I would use a conditioning shampoo because it's less likely to strip the color out of the hair. But good job. It fooled me. That isn't good. You know, it's only the third time in 48 years I've been fooled.
I'm 4 weeks out here. Like,
But
this is
I
as
don't.
bad as it gets.
I don't have color on my hair. This white in front is natural. There's nothing pretend here. My mother had it, and the apples don't fall far from the tree.
It looks good like that. It looks like you did that on purpose.
And I'd use anything but a bar of soap on my head. A bar of soap I wouldn't do, but VO5's fine to cleanse. I'm not going to strip color. It's not going to weaken a permanent wave. That's when you want to use a conditioning one. And if I would, I still will swear by something I think are the best products, Redken. Redken, if you can find them, if they're out of Van Nuys, California, great line of products. They used to be only professional. You'll find them maybe in an Ulta store or something like that. Those are ones. One that would say Color Fast shampoo. Believe me, it would be good because it will extend the life of a hair color. It won't fade and it will hold its original luster longer. But if you're an everyday shampooer, it's going to lose its zest in 21 to 28 days.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
That works for me.
By the way, I do hair color.
I've been doing it myself. I've kind of gotten all right.
By the way, I could do better.
Yeah.
Okay,
I skipped the last one. That's why it's so.
Hey, I'm
so
teasing you. I'm teasing you.
Okay, if someone gave your 18-year-old self $1,000, what would you have done with it?
18-year-old phone?
18 years old.
Well, I didn't drive till I was 22, so I couldn't get a car. I was afraid to drive.
Mm-hmm.
18 years old. Okay, we're going back to 1972. I'm just out of high school. $1,000, which is probably equivalent to $7,500 in that day and age. Goes a lot farther.
Yeah, I was going to say
cigarettes
that
are
really doesn't translate as well.
Yeah, cigarettes are 35 cents a pack. I know I'm going to buy a carton of cigarettes. I still hadn't started drinking yet, so we can't bring booze into it. 18-year-old, it's easy. I cut lawns in the summertime to earn enough money to buy season tickets. I'm buying season tickets for the 1972-73 season.
There you go.
That's a guarantee. Get this or not. They were kind enough to split a season ticket with me in my senior year because I was able to earn enough money cutting grass in the summertime. That's probably why I cut hair now. But I split my season ticket, and I have visual evidence from one of their yearbooks. Half of the season was directly behind the net we shot at first, 2 times in the first row. Was my seat, and I couldn't afford the whole season down there, so they let me do the other part with all my friends up in section C9, and definitely $300, $400. That's what it costs for a season ticket. You can hardly get into a game for that now, or take a family on. But I definitely, an 18-year-old Gilbert, I'm buying season tickets, probably a new lawnmower for next. Well, that's the summer that I started working at the restaurant, but
Still a good investment.
I love cutting grass. I do to this day. With my cardiac problems, I don't have a lot of grass to take care of because it's mainly garden. I love doing it every week still. Every week, I love doing it. It's only a 30-minute job, but I love it, and I love the way it smells, and I love the way it looks. The rest of it, probably would bank it. So
Smart bonus for an 18.
Half spent, half saved.
Pretty
Because
good.
I really would need nothing else. I know that carton of cigarettes would go there. I know that.
Well, the second part of the question is, what would if you got $1,000 right now, what would you do with it?
Split it with my kids. Definitely my kids would get X amount of it. Tell them go have fun time on Dad. Let's break it down. Each of them get and 2 grandchildren, 1 on the way. So there's 600 spent there. Everybody gets $100. I don't need anything for myself. Is the attitude, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to spend all of it. I'm going to save at least 20% of it. Okay, 200 gets stashed away. Okay, it's no big deal, but it adds up when you when you keep piling on. I don't have many needs. Oh, there's a big dinner out at a good restaurant. Recently, in Cincinnati, visiting my son and meeting that grandchild for the first time, I went to the best restaurant I've ever been to in my life called Stone Creek in Cincinnati.
Stone Creek.
The steak was so spectacular. I treated him for his first Father's Day, and my wife went. My daughter, who lives in Pittsburgh, went. His lady friend that he's marrying in December stayed behind with the baby because they're rigid with his bedtime, and we didn't get out till 7 o'clock. But he promised me, Dad, you will love this place. Single best restaurant and single best meal I've ever had in my life. It's nothing out of the ordinary. God almighty, it was so good. A strip steak that I took one bite out of my normal size, and eyes went through, came out, and I started cutting it paper thin to make this last. The potato was dressed in a way that was spectacular, and I cannot describe how green the broccoli was that was so perfectly tender. You'd almost think, did they cook this? One bite, your teeth just slice through it like a hot knife in butter. Single best $204 plus a $45 tip.
Well, I mean, that gets to the next one. Do you have a tipping custom?
I should do better, but you're getting 15%. Okay? I kind of go by the book on that. You do really good, you're getting 25%. You do spectacular and give me some free goods, you're really. But I probably should be a little better, but I've always gone by the book on the 15% rule. But even though times have changed and most people say it's more like 20-25% now. So I up it a little bit, but I know one thing, take my word on this. My wife gets my paycheck. I manage my gratuities here at the shop, and I know how vital it is to an income for a service person. But sometimes, you give me bad service. My dad used to do something.
What?
He was a drunk, okay? But he was very generous with money because they were private detectives and they made a lot of money. They made money, believe me. You didn't get good service. He'd get your standard tip, but he'd leave a penny with it.
You'd leave a penny with it.
Penny was a message. You didn't do a good job, but I'm going to still do what I'm supposed to do.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never.
Probably was a middle of the 20th century custom with people that, I'm telling you, you didn't do a good job, but I'm still doing what I'm supposed to do.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah? I don't know if anybody would get that message in this day and age, but I saw them do it on more than one occasion because as private detectives, this family ate out a lot as kids. My parents did not have 9-to-5 job. They went where the case was, and many times we traveled, and we were little junior private detectives, mostly shadowing cases of husband cheating on wife and vice versa. And we knew what we were doing as young kids, and we were very unassuming looking as a family of 5, and they are literally spying on people. Tree.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely
absolutely
fascinating.
Look them up under Perkins Detective Agency on the internet. They weren't nice people, trust me. Let me finish with this.
Okay.
I can't prove what I'm saying. They were in competition with a very, very infamous detective company that you wouldn't want to have. This is your last name in this area. Want to hear the name? The competition was Pinkerton.
Oh, okay.
Perkins Detective Agency and Pinkerton were the two competitors in this area. My great-grandfather, he was still living then, the great-grandfather would have had no trouble murdering immigrants.
Jesus.
They were racists. They were slave owners. They weren't, I always say, they weren't nice people. They weren't. I'm very happy to say that my father broke the monotony. He married an Italian-American. By the way, he got thrown out of the family for 4 years because of that. These people were racists. They would have had no trouble going right down that hill where it happened and wiping them out and saying, go back to where you came from, only in a coffin.
Wow.
They were nasty. Look them up, and you'll see some things of extortion and blackmailing. They weren't nice people. Ultimately, that changed them when they got in trouble with the I think that's a federal case, that the things that they got involved with. They weren't nice people.
Whew.
True.
Quite a note to go out on.
Look them up, Perkins Detective Agency, and see what they did in the early 1900s. It's not nice what you're going to say.
Well, we're wrapping it on a dark note. Thank you for doing the show. This was amazing.
It's my pleasure. I hope we get to do it again.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
Let a little time
we
go
can always
by.
do a part 2. Yeah.
Yes.